Happy lunch hour, gang. Okay, this is getting more interesting as we speak here, watching this. Kind of digging into some of the European opinion on what's going on with all of the Ukraine fiasco. And it's kind of interesting. You're starting to hear the Europeans say World War III is inevitable. Even the liberals, and I'll link below what I was reading so you guys can take a look at this. Remember the stories, the conspiracy theories, if you will, about the Titanic over 100 years ago, that J.P. Morgan had the Titanic deliberately sunk to kill off three businessmen who were absolutely against establishing the Federal Reserve. It's a conspiracy theory that's out there, but it's something that people talk about, okay? It was plausible. Maybe not certain, but it was. You think about all the conspiracy theories that we've talked about that miraculously come true 6 months later. And this has been going on for, past 10 years at least, right? Well, we'll start with this one. In Germany, their interior minister, Nancy Faeser, the woman who's famous for banning media outlets, okay, has now come out and started a project called Advice Compass for Conspiracy Thinking. And literally what they want to do is have people turn in their family members for not following the government narrative. Okay? This kind of sounds familiar, right? Does it remind you of, maybe Nazi Germany? Where turn in your neighbors if they're Jews, turn in your neighbors if they're assisting the Jews, right? Turn in your family. Lots of stories of people doing that too, okay? The reason Pfizer wants to do this is she hypothesizes that conspiracy theories can lead to extremism, crimes, and violence. I'll give you a fact, not a conspiracy theory, but allowing a bunch of migrants from North Africa and the Middle East into your country, that certainly, unequivocally, factually leads to extremism, crimes, and violence. Yet you're doing nothing about it, okay? The whole point of this war in Ukraine was money. Still is, okay? We hear day in, day out lately that Trump wants rights to rare earth minerals, right? Why is it that all of a sudden they aren't talking about the other minerals that are in the ground in Far East Ukraine? Gold, coal, magnesium, lithium. Have you heard them talk about anything about that? Except when you start getting into the liberal British side, they will. Okay? Reading this article this morning about this liberal analyst, if you will, talking about how World War III is inevitable. That's scary. What's he say? Most Brits don't like Zelensky. Not saying they like Putin, okay? But this analyst doesn't even like Donald Trump, so I'll give you that as a point. Most Brits don't want to support Ukraine. Most Brits do not want to send their kids into battle for Ukraine. Yet Keir Starmer is hell-bent on it. I'm betting if there was an analysis done about the French people or the German people or any other country in Europe, you would probably find these same deals that we all have. Most Americans are against sending money, sending troops, sending equipment to Ukraine. Yet, so many politicians, here at least amongst the Democrats, want to continue this war. Why? Money. That's it. They are all willing to sell you or your kids to put dollars, euros, whatever, in their pockets. It's pure power and greed, which is typical of a politician. You look at this minerals deal, and you've got Zelensky playing both sides against the middle. This 100-year deal that Great Britain has signed with Zelensky also includes, get this, mineral rights for Great Britain. Now explain this to me. How can you sign away the mineral rights to Great Britain and then go to the United States and say, we want to sign away the mineral rights to you? Is Zelensky thinking that he is going to force a partnership between the U.S. and the U.K.? Maybe that's his idea. Maybe not. But do not for a second think that the whole reason that Zelensky, who is a puppet, no question, he's not a leader, he's a puppet of the Globalist Cabal, do not for a second think he wasn't placed in power to do anything other than start a war to make money. I mean, he is a billionaire already from the amount of money he's skimmed, okay? And what better country to place a puppet in than the most corrupt country in Europe? Great. Here's a C-list actor, a clown, a guy who's on talent shows. It's not like he's Clint Eastwood or something like that, or Ronald Reagan, getting into politics. They put him in because he was easy to control. His greed went far beyond anything else. And their greed was even greater. And again, I'm talking about the globalist cabal, the liberal socialists around the world. This is why you see Democrats, primarily, you have some rhinos in the United States, Slava Ukraine, all this sort of crap, because they're getting their kickbacks too. It's all about money. I mentioned the Daigle report the other day. This is the plan. Do not think otherwise. They want to eliminate a huge portion of the population and bring us down to 500 million. What better place to start than Europe? Why Europe? Europe is predominantly white. What have we seen the battle against for the past few years? White people. They're not trying to eliminate the Asians. They're not trying to eliminate the Africans. They're not trying to eliminate the South Americans. They are trying to eliminate white people. And it's a lot easier to start in Europe than it is to start in the United States. Because if they get into the United States, get into Europe, Europe is such a patchwork of different countries who can never agree on anything. It's ripe for the pickings. Putin's getting played. Zelensky is a pawn. And they are trying to start World War III. While they sit back in their ivory tower, collecting their billions and trillions of dollars, making themselves richer. I've said for a few years now that the idea is a feudalistic society. Two classes of people, the ruling class and the poor. Basically, that's it. This is exactly what they are trying to do with Europe right now, is to completely eliminate any sort of middle class, have all the wealth concentrated in a very small portion of people. The funny part is, what I think about is you have so many of these people that are so dumb, they are blindly supporting this, thinking they are going to be part of that ruling class. No, they're not. They're just useful idiots at the moment who are supporting this, and then when it comes time to divide the bounty, they're going to be kicked to the curb, which usually means firing squad. Do you honestly use it in America, for example? Do you honestly think once this all comes through, somebody's going to elevate AOC to some powerful position? No, she's a useful idiot. Okay. Will this come to the United States? Maybe. Maybe not. Depends. I mean, right now it's Trump versus the world, where the rest of the world wants to prolong this war until the point where they can make it potentially a nuclear war and eliminate 90% of the population. Trump is striving for peace. Don't fool yourself to think that Keir Starmer or Emmanuel Macron are trying to strive for peace. You don't strive for peace saying we're going to give you more money for war. They want this to be a perpetual war. They want it to go on forever because it makes them money. All the kickbacks, and you know damn well they all got Zelensky in their back pocket. Okay? They keep padding their bank account, and the cost of war is your kids, your tax dollars. The eggs that you can't afford, I guarantee we're having food being sent over to Ukraine, right? To feed the people, right? To subsidize their agriculture, to do all that. And eventually what's going to happen is the people in the United States and Europe are going to get pissed. There's an interesting survey done by Colonel Drew Miller and the analytical arm from Fortitude Ranch. You guys remember him? I interviewed Colonel Miller about a year ago. They did a poll on the likelihood of civil war in the United States. And again, not Union versus Confederacy, not black versus white, but liberal versus conservative, socialist versus patriot. Okay? Get this. 50% of the people believe we have a greatly increasing likelihood of civil war. 20% indicate that there's a slightly increasing likelihood of civil war. And 7% don't think that there's a whole lot in there, but that a domestic civil war is likely. That's 77% of the American public that is concerned, if not fearful, of us going to civil war. 3 out of every 4 people go outside, stand on your porch, look at the houses next door and go, you do, you do, you do, you don't. Right? Okay. This is effectively what the globalist cabal wants. Do not think for a second that this hasn't all been a huge plan from the beginning. Again, we go back to the Daigle report, which was written how many years ago, saying in 2025, this year, we are going to see a massive depopulation event. This has been in the works for a long, long time to eliminate human beings. Maybe that'll save the planet. Then we won't all exhale all that carbon dioxide, right? No, just like every other war, just like World War II was, just like World War I was. Yeah, they had some sort of, I'll use the term, false flag to start it, But inevitably, the whole point of the war was money. All of them are about money. It's about those sitting in the back who want to get rich, while those of us in the front get to collect the lead, while those in the back collect the gold. Be ready for this. If 3 out of 4 people fear civil war, there's a good chance it happens. If Europe is so hell-bent on going to war with Russia, it probably happens. I don't want to say it's a certainty, but a bigger war in Europe is inevitable. The biggest question is, does Trump keep us out of it, or does Europe force us into it? We'll see you tonight. Pinball out.